Mr. Gazor, can you mute your microphone, please?
Okay.
And the recording has started. I'll hand over to the chair.
Okay, thank you, Naz, very much. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the licensing subcommittee meeting. The first thing we do is introduce ourselves. I'm Councillor Gina Adamo, and I chair this meeting. Can I ask my colleagues, the councillors, to introduce themselves, please?
Hi, I'm Councillor Sarah Williams from West Green Ward.
Hi, I'm Councillor Bob Hare from Highgate Ward.
Can I ask our officers, please, to introduce themselves?
Good morning, I'm Dale Barrett, the licensing team leader.
I'm Michelle Williams, the legal advisor.
And I'm Nazia Chowdhury, the Principal Committee Coordinator and Clerk to this hearing.
Excellent, and we have representations. Can I ask the public health, Maria, I can't see you if you're with us, introduce yourself.
Public health are not here today, Chair.
Oh, they're here, okay.
And licensing authority is not here today either, Chair.
Excellent, okay, in that case, we'll move to the applicant. Mr. Gizzo, you got somebody with you. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Thank you, ma'am. My name is Bikal Masegizao.
I'm Elsa Kidan.
Okay, you are assisting Mr. Gizzo regulation, and I can see somebody else here, Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby Holder. I'm representing Mr. Kazor. I'm a licensing practitioner.
So it's her again?
Bobby Holder is my name. I'm representing the applicant.
Oh, I see. Okay, I wasn't sure who. Okay. Excellent. Mr. Holder, I'll write it down. Okay, now can I ask our licensing officer to...
Chair, you have the police also to...
Oh, yes, I wasn't sure. I can't see the police anywhere. Perhaps if the police join us, you introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Justina Golotta. I'm a police officer from licensing team for North area, which is Haringey and Enfield.
Okay, welcome. Thank you very much. Sorry, I didn't mean to miss you. I just couldn't see. I can't see you. Still can't see you. Maybe you don't have a camera, but that's fine. We can hear you perfectly. Okay, thank you. And then back to you, licensing officer. Please present your report.
So, Chair, do you want to go through the procedure?
Oh,
the general procedure.
You know, I do that every time. I completely forgot today. I do apologize for that. The procedure for the meeting has been emailed to all participants by the clerk. For the purpose of any members of the public watching, we will first hear from the licensing officer. After that, the objectors will present their case, and the committee and applicants will have the opportunity to ask questions. Then the applicant will present their application, and the committee and objectors will have the opportunity to ask questions. All parties will then have the opportunity to sum up, and then the meeting will conclude to allow the committee to deliberate and reach a decision. This decision will then be provided in writing within 5 working days of this meeting. Thank you. I always read that out. I forgot this time. Sorry?
Chair, just before we start, the declaration of interest.
Yeah, I was going to go through that. Yeah. Just reminding people first that we have this meeting recorded and will be available for public viewing. Apologies for our absence, we don't have. Any urgent business, again, we don't have. And then we go to declaration of interest. There doesn't seem to be any. All members sitting on this panel there, we represent different wards. My ward is Haringey ward, as you have said at the beginning. I read the procedure, and then eventually, you see, I do apologize. My mind's been elsewhere. I have, with my daughter's health problems, so do forgive me. Okay, our licensing officer, please.
Thank you, Chair. Chair. So the panel have before them this morning an application for a new premises license for Channel Lounge at 775 High Road, N17. The application is submitted by Mr. Bikal Gazor, and he is seeking the licensed activities of regulated entertainment in form of recorded music at the time shown at 1.2, late night refreshment also, latest being on a Friday and Saturday night till 2 a.m. The supply of alcohol Sunday to Thursday 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. and Friday to Saturday 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. Supply of alcohol will be for on consumption on the premises only, and seeking the hours open to the public Sunday to Thursday 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. Friday to Saturday 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. You can see the application submitted in Appendix 1, Chair, which starts from page 9, and within that also you will see what Mr. Gazor has put forward in terms of the operating schedule. Should you choose to grant this license, you'll find the operating schedule on page 16, 17, 18, as to how the conditions he hopes to be held to in operating this license. Representations have been received from the licensing authority, the Met Police and Public Health, and these are at Appendix 2. I will go through the licensing authority and the Public Health representations in a moment, Chair. In considering the representation received, it is appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives, and once the panel has heard from all parties in deliberation, may decide to grant the application as requested, grant the application whilst imposing additional conditions or altering in any way the proposed operating schedule, exclude any licensed activities to which the application relates, or reject the whole or part of the application. As the panel know, clear and concise wording as to the reasons for any decisions made is required. In terms of background, the premises are situated along High Road N17, next door to a Betfred betting shop, and comprises of 3 sections shown on the plan submitted in the submitted with this application. The front cafe area is the area being requested to be the licensed area. The plan shows a middle area, which is now shown as a seated area and a kitchen to the rear of the property. The applicant has previously applied for a premises license, which was refused by the LSE, and a copy of that refusal is attached at Appendix 4 of this pack. The premises was visited on the 25th of September 2021, at which time it was found to be offering alcohol for sale and on display. Customers were on site consuming alcohol. The staff were asked to remove all the alcohol from public view and to not offer or sell alcohol, as there was no license in place to authorise this. Officers also witnessed the premises being used for shisha smoking in an area that would not have been compliant in doing so or had the correct planning permission to do so. The room is only accessible via a PIN code to this area, so it would not be readily able for officers on entry to see what's going on in this additional space on entry to the premises. The premises was also subject to an inspection by the fire authority, and Mr. Gazor was required to undertake some works to address the concerns found. The copy of that is found in Appendix 3. The applicant was required to undertake a fire risk assessment by an independent provider. Since the submission of the second application for a new premises licence, a serious incident took place at the premises which resulted in a customer being stabbed. The matter is referred to in the police representation. Mr. Gazor has subsequently discussed the various concerns raised with the police, but the representation still stands from all the responsible authorities, Chair. Chair, just to go with the licensing policy, so you are aware. Sorry, Councillor Hare. So you are aware, obviously, Section 3, we've got the licensing policies, what it says from the council's own licensing policy, I should say. In considering licence applications where relevant representations are made, the licensing authority will consider the adequacy of measures proposed to deal with the potential for public nuisance and or public disorder, having regard to all the circumstances of the case. Applications that shall only be granted where the licensing authority satisfy the grant of the license would not harm the licensing objectives following a hearing. Where relevant representations are made, the licensing authority will also have particular consideration to the hours requested for the sale of alcohol. Persons who are alcohol dependent may be drawn to particular premises if they are licensed to sell alcohol at earlier times or later times than other premises. Additionally, if there are issues related to late night disorder, the hours of alcohol sales from the premises may be restricted. Chair, I'm aware that you've read through the report, so I won't cover all of those matters, but it's obviously on page 3 of the application. Chair, you've got there at point 4 where the relevant representations are made. The council will consider the proposed hours to those on their individual merits. Notwithstanding this, the council may require stricter conditions in areas that have denser residential accommodation to prevent public nuisance, and that the council will endeavour to work with all parties concerned in such instances to ensure that adequate conditions are in place. The council may restrict hours that certain premises can offer alcohol for the sale or consumption of the premises, with regard to preventing crime and disorder and nuisance. Chair, in terms of other matters that come into play, Chair, did you know the Section 17 of the Crime and Disorder Act comes into effect into your consideration, and also does the Human Rights Act. Also, Chair. Chair, if I can just take you to page 21, which is the floor plan. You will see from the floor plan that the cafe has one entrance from the street. There's the cafe, and then halfway through that floor plan, you'll see where it's labelled lounge. That door there is only accessible via a PIN code, so it is not able for authorities to see on entry from the street level what's going on in the rest of the premises, Chair. And so it's been asked to, it's been put as a lounge, but you know, I think we've put forward a proposal that access, or if it's minded to be granted, then that door is to be kept open at all times once the premises is open to the public. Yeah, so it should not be in a locked position ever once the public are on site. Chair, I will run you through. Shall I stop there, Chair, and then I can run you through the responsible authorities' representations if you have any questions for me as a licensing officer?
Yes. I will. I got to members first. Do you have any questions? Please indicate. Councillor Hare.
Yes, thanks. I remain a little concerned that I don't know whether it would be possible to condition that the PIN-coded door actually have that lock removed, or a totally different lock replacing it. In other words, a key lock, so that because it's so easy for a lock with a PIN code just to be switched back to using the PIN. I don't know what your reaction to that would be.
I think that's for us to discuss later.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. Do you have any other questions?
No.
Okay, Councillor William.
Thanks, Chair. I think my question really, and it's difficult to keep this just to the licensing officer's report and not to the whole piece, because are your concerns about that door additional to concerns that would be around fire safety aspects?
That's
and
correct.
if they are, what are your additional concerns?
Yes, that's correct. So the premises has got one way in basically and one way out. For customers, for people that are on site, because of the layout, because of the makeup of the premises, it would probably possibly be limited, I should think, to about 60 capacity, because of the access issues there. And so yes, it is twofold. It's a public safety matter, because obviously we want to ensure that people are able to, or do have a clear means of escape in and out of the premises. And also on a a crime prevention matter as well, because, you know, previously access to that middle room would be initially denied, and it's only because you then persist that middle door is then being released or opened for officers to be able to see what's going on.
Okay, so just two more questions then. When you visited, or when other officer visited the site, were they refused access to that room? And the second one is the door I can see in the kitchen. Where does that take us out to?
Right, so that is very limited access. The door from the kitchen to go outside is very limited, and it's not a very clear and a very narrow pathway there as well, which was blocked at the time when the visit was carried out there. So it wouldn't be a means, or we wouldn't want the public going through that way anyway to go into the kitchen. And if I was the kitchen, then, you know, like I said, they've only got the one means way out, which is back through those doors to the front again.
Okay.
Yeah, and so the access was always an issue into that particular middle area.
So to be clear, you were not denied access through that?
It was hesitant.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor O'Hare, you have another question?
Yes. Is it permissible to ask the applicant what the reason for that locking door is at that stage? I mean, what is achieved through having that door lock?
Yeah, you're free to ask that question when the applicant have their representation, then you can ask that question. Now, can I ask the applicants if they have any questions to the licensing officer? I can't see anybody indicated. Oh, Mr. Holder.
Yes, my question is there any reason why the licensed authority is not being represented here today? Because there's public health and the licensing authority has a representation at this meeting today.
Yes, there is a reason.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a reason. The licensing authority representative is off sick at this moment in time, and the public health officer, this is a non-work day for that particular officer.
Do you
Okay,
have
thank you.
any more questions? No. Can I ask the police officer, Tina, I understand the name is, do you have any questions?
No.
No, okay. In that case, you want to go back to the other reports then?
Yes, Chair. So if I can just. So in terms of the public health representation, Chair, I know you've read through this. So public health are making representation with regard, in particular for the alcoholist aspect and prevention of crime and disorder, it would seem. They're talking about the highly vulnerable area and lack of confidence, it seems, in the applicant and what they have put forward. So they've offered some public safety considerations there, Chair, about no irresponsible sales, but obviously that's already part of the mandatory code. Alcohol shall be stored securely when on the premises at all times. Staff to have training for the use of CCTV and so forth, sufficient bins, legible notices displayed at the exits about noise when leaving the premises, and they've also put forward a protection of children from harm conditions there, Chair, around having a refusals log and so forth for the applicant to, should you wish to grant this license, Chair. And on the licensing authority representation, the licensing authority are saying that they're not supportive of this application under the crime and disorder objective. That temporary event notices have been used by Mr. Gazon, and on the 9th of Jan, there was a serious incident on the premises, and arrests were made. And following on from the police report as well, the issues that happened at the time at the crime scene and so forth, the licensing authority feels that they have no confidence or the trust in the ability of Mr. Gazor to operate well-managed premises with regard to the law or the uphold and promotion of the licensing objective, and that the application should be refused. Chair.
Thank you. I can see Mr. Holder has his hand up. But first of all, can I ask members if they have any questions on those two reports? I hope our licensing officer can be able to respond because it's not her reports. Councillor Williams.
I suppose I just want a bit of clarity over the whole piece, really, is that we have a situation where a licence was refused, but then temporary events were permitted, and it's during one of those temporary notices that this incident happened outside the times allowed for within the 10, and then it was after that point that the authority made their report. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, Chair, I've just realised it looks like there was another representation from the authority. It's not appeared in the pack, however.
Oh.
I was seriously looking through for it just then.
Can you say what the date of that?
Well, no, I can't now. Obviously, I know the applicant has had it. Mr. Gazor has had a copy of it, but it's not in the pack here.
Okay.
But that's.
Well, sorry, Dale, if it's not in the pack,
It's not in the pack.
Members, I don't think they can consider it.
No, they cannot.
Okay.
It's not in the additional pack, Dale.
Fair enough. Okay. Can I ask, was the temporary license the first one after the refusal of the previous application?
Sorry, Chair, say that again, please.
Was the temporary license the first one after the refusal of the previous application?
Right. No, I think that was probably their second tens. No, it wouldn't have been. That was their first one.
That was the first one.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
That's not correct.
Mr. Holder,
Sorry, Mr. Holder, you can say anything later on.
I'll ask
I
you a
think,
question.
with clarity, Madam Chair, there's a couple of issues here. One incident didn't happen at the premises, which I'm sure the police will confirm. There's so much confusion here that we have to go through to get clarity here with the first application and with the second application, with who's visited and when they visited the premises. Like to ask when the licensing authority actually visited the premises, was the last time they visited the premises, and who was it visited by, when public health actually visited the premises, and when they actually visited the premises, because a lot of the information being taken up by the licensing authority was the first report by the police, which I'm sure the police will now correct this committee and give the actual facts of what actually happened on the incident of the 9th. And all the accusations outside the licensing time is incorrect, and the police will confirm that. So don't get a false statement of the way how it's been painted at the moment doesn't look very good. And I'm sure the truth will come out once we speak to the Met Police and once we speak to the applicant. In regards to tens, there's been quite a number of tens at the premises with no issues till 4 o'clock in the morning. There's never been an issue in regards to that. So as we go through,
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm waiting for your questions, but you have a chance. You have a chance to present your.
No problem, Madam Chair. No problem, Madam Chair.
Do you have any questions at the moment from the just heard?
Yes, has the public health visited the premises, and when was the last time licensing authority visited the premises?
Public Health had not visited the premises. I wasn't aware that it was an order for them to do so. The enforcement officers have visited the premises in recent weeks.
Okay. Okay, you don't seem to have any more questions. I think I see.
Yes, I do, but when it's no point at this moment. When we do
You,
have a chance.
you have a chance to
Yeah.
do your presentation. I think I can see, Mr. Picard, you got your hand up. Is that a question for the officer? Do you have a question for the officer?
Yes, ma'am. It says Miss Barnes says just before 9th of January, they don't have 10 on the premises. Did she say that one, or I don't understand?
Okay, can you clarify, please? Sir?
No, I didn't. I just read from the report that it said on the 9th there was a tens, not that there wasn't a tens.
Yeah, because this is not our first thing.
Sorry, who was that?
Okay, yeah. So a number of tens were applied for. This incident took place, that's in the report, is relating to the 9th of January on one of those days when there was a tens in place, but the tens had actually expired at that time in any event.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. Thank you. Okay, right. Okay, I think I will go to the police first, and then I go to the applicant. Tina, are you ready? I can't see you. Hope you're here.
Yeah, I'm ready, Madam Chair. So in my report, I do talk about the incident on the 9th of January where 2 people has been seriously injured. From the police report, initially it stated that the incident has started within the Chanel Lounge and then spilled into the main street. Witnesses has identified Chanel Lounge as a crime scene, and when police visited Chanel Lounge, 2 additional suspects has been arrested within the premises within the kitchen area. Since then, the investigation has progressed, and I do not know the full details and extent of it, as I did not see CCTV or review anything like that. I'm not the investigating officer on that case, so I cannot verify anything. But I have spoken to Chanel Lounge, and I was explained that the fight has initially, there was a tension within the Chanel Lounge when people has exited after the Chanel Lounge has closed post the 10 timetable, and the shutters has been drawn down. There were some people in, but that was to protect the people from going out and getting assaulted by the other group of people. So basically, again, I was not there. I cannot verify what have actually happened, what hasn't happened. I'm not the investigating officer, therefore I'm not gonna give any details as I do not have them, and I cannot jeopardize the investigation. Upon visiting the Chanel Lounge, I have spoken to the applicant. I have explained my concerns. I do believe that we have spoken about security, we have spoken about incident book, we have spoken about CCTV log. He himself has been cooperating with the police, and he can provide the details of that when asked. But when doing my representation, I have also done some research upon the premises, and I have discovered that you can find details online stating that they do supply alcohol, and they have some reviews saying that this is a good place to go. Therefore, they have been in the breach of, license as they did not have a license, so they were not committing fully to licensing objective. Therefore, I do still feel that my representation is valid and stand, and I am happy to answer any questions if you've got any.
Okay, I will go to the members, but may I ask you first, you refer to other people. These other people, were they already on the premises, or if you know, or
so basically, from the reports, from the way it's read on the report, there has been a fight outside the premises where 2 people has been seriously injured. When police tried to gain access to the premises, there was a little bit of an issue there, but once gained access, there was members of public within the premises alongside with the staff, where upon the search, 2 suspects has been arrested in the kitchen area trying to evade police.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I go to members first, if they have any questions. No. Councillor Hare.
I have got quite poor audio on this system, so I may not have heard exactly what you said, but the undated letter on page 3 from yourself, on page 3 of the second issue papers, could you just explain how that relates to the original representation, please? Is that clear? Is my question clear to you?
I do not believe I have submit additional letter in page 3 from myself.
Okay, it is a little bit confusing because the headers are not very complete, and maybe I'm misunderstanding something, but it appears to be a letter signed by yourself in which...
Could you say what page number
It's page 3 on the second issue of the papers.
Yeah.
There's the main reports, but there is a supplementary issue. Perhaps Dahlia is able to clarify the origins of that item on page 3, but it appears to be from yourself, Justinia, and it says, "We do believe that the venue and the applicant, Mr. Gizor, are willing to negotiate and mediate as well."
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was after my meeting with Mr. Gazor, where I have explained, I was with my colleague actually, when we have explained why we have put the representation through, what was our reasons and what was our rationale. And he has agreed to submit additional proposals in relation to security, because there seems to be no security whatsoever within the premises on the tents and on any given night. Also, there is only 2 members or 3 members of staff working at the premises within the time-given slot. And when it comes to issues like that, police was not called by the staff. What the staff did, they closed the venue and started to prepare for closing time, thinking that the problem will go away, knowing full well that the escalation is going further and action should have been taken to prevent any injuries and ensure public safety. So therefore, yes, I do remember, I recall that letter, yes. And I'm still upholding to that, because on the end of the day, we, as a committee, we are over here to decide whether it is reasonable or not reasonable for them to have a license. But in the same time, if we can guide and direct and ensure that certain procedures and how do I say it? Basically, we're trying to make sure that we give them the right tools and educate them in the way to run the business in a safe and constructive manner. So yes, I am willing to negotiate, and I am still hoping that we can help each other out. But at the same time, I do believe that right now, as this moment standing, I do not have a confidence that at the moment we have fully came to a conclusion as giving the satisfactory and that the premises will be actually upholding all licensing objectives.
Okay, that's really helpful. Can I just ask one further question on that letter? You say, "We do believe that the venue and the applicant, Mr. Gizor, are willing to negotiate and mediate." There's a distinction there. What do you mean by the venue? Is that another representative of the venue?
No.
Or is...
No, I did word it like that simply as I know that is not only Mr. Gazol that is actually working within the venue. So he needs to uphold the licensing objective as well as his staff. So it's within, this is why the differentiation is there.
Okay, so that's staff basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gizot, you got your hand up. Do you have any question?
No.
You don't. Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Oh, Mr. Holder, yes?
Yes, I have questions. In regards to this report from the police, the applicant has been very, very compliant with the police. There was no crime scene at his premises. And in normal case, I understand why council is a bit confused. If there was such a serious incident at his premises, the police would have probably made a review of the applicant's license. They would have probably done a closure order on the premises. He's always been compliant with the police. As a matter of fact, he's communicated with the police. He's one that gave him the CCTV camera, made phone calls. The victim actually was willing and happy to give a report on behalf of that.
I'm sorry.
So we have conflict of what actually happened at the incident with the actual Met Police, who represented the incident, and with the report and the information that's been written in this report, with the incidents, which you'll understand the incident, there wasn't incident directly outside the premises. It's a very serious incident. It was way down the road. The premises wasn't aware of the incident. They was closing up to go home. It was just staff and a couple of friends that they was dropping home, which the applicant's going to explain to you on that evening. So it wasn't, they're painting the picture of the premise. Sorry, Madam Chair.
Mr. Holder, you seem to have gone to a speech. Now I got two hands up. I will ask the legal advisor and a license officer to come in. At this point, as I will come to you straight after we finish with the police officer. Do you have any questions or anything you want to clarify with the police officer?
Yes, I would like to ask, has there been any issue with the applicant not being compliant with the Metropolitan Police throughout this whole incident and throughout this whole period and all the tents that he's had throughout his whole history there?
Thank you.
Is there any issues with the applicant?
Thank you.
Mr. Holder, in relation to my application, to my representation, that representation has been written based on the information that it was given to me by the investigation officers, right? I have spoken to the applicant, and no, he has been fully cooperative.
Mm-hmm.
But when the police attended, there was a little bit of an issue when it comes to gaining the access to the premises. The shutters were down and nobody wouldn't answer the calls from the police, although people has been within, and that's what it says on the report. And this is why I based my information, my representation on the information that was given to me when I was actually reviewing the application. But no, when it comes to the applicant, he has been fully cooperative.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Delia, you want to come in? You got your hand up?
So I was going to just mention, but you've stopped Mr. Holder anyway. Now to make sure he was going to ask questions. It's fine, Chair. I think it's a little bit difficult in that Mr. Holder is saying that the premises wasn't involved, but again, the people that were arrested were actually found in the kitchen. Yeah.
No, and
okay.
That's exactly. We will answer that question.
Okay, thank you. Councillor, before I call you, Mr. Holder, I'll go to Councillor Williams. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, it's just for the police officer. I can't quite find it in my pack right now, but I'm sure I read that on the night of the incident, evidence was cleaned up.
Yeah.
So it didn't exist anymore. That the ambulance wasn't called, that the police service wasn't called, and that people were found hiding in the kitchen. Is that correct?
So yes, from the initial report, that's what it seems to be. But since then, it turns out that the evidence was not necessarily lost, as the premises was basically following the closing procedure, and they were mopping the floors. There was no indication that the blood was actually mopped off the floor. So that we need to clarify. There has been blood spatters found on the doors, and there has been people arrested in the kitchen. That's correct.
Yeah, so from my point of view, the thing I find most concerning is nobody considered phoning the police. So I think there are two things, and I get what Mr. Holder's saying as well. There's two things. Now, when you are discussing things with the applicant, he is fully cooperative, which it differs to what occurred the night of the incident. So I just wanted to get that clear in my head. Is it? Is that correct? My understanding.
So yes, it is correct that the premises did not call the police.
Thank you.
And this is why my representation still stands.
Thank you.
Before you finish, can I ask you? You said evidence was not lost. I'm not quite sure what that means. Was not lost by accident because of the
from forensic perspective, even if the floor has been mopped and there would be a blood stains on the floor that has been cleaned up, that still could be seen by the police. We do have a technology that will show that yeah, there is, Mr. Holden, there is.
Sorry.
It's not gonna be fully recovered. It's not gonna have any evidential value, but premises has explained, and we have, well, from the report, what I have read, that yeah, that was initial thought process of the police officers investigating at the time. Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot verify that because I was not there. I'm not the investigating officer. I'm not the leading officer. I am just providing the information that has been passed to me.
No, I understand. Thank you. I understand. Mr. Holder, you were waving your hand up. Do you have any additional question?
Yes.
Because I'm coming to you next.
I know, but when an officer says that that this has happened when she's had access to CCTV, there was actually no major incident inside the premises. There wasn't no stabbing inside the premises. So when there isn't no crime scene at the premises, and all that information.
Mr. Holden, may I say something? I never seen CCTV, so I cannot verify that.
Okay.
Second of all, still the fact stands that 2 people have been arrested related to the incident within the premises.
That is not correct either.
On why do you say that, Mr. Holder?
2 people were arrested, not connected to, and they were released the following day, not connected to the incident. They wasn't even aware of the incident. But once we get into what actually happened on the day, then we can have the officer actually come back and explain why the 2 contradictory stories in regards to what the police is, the licensing officers saying, what the actual Met Police is actually saying in the report, in regards to the whole incident of the night, because there's too much contradiction here, and we're here to get clarity of contradictions of what's actually happened.
Okay, I think we'll leave it there. I don't know if the police officer wants to come back on that. I think I will ask you in a minute. I got Councillor Williams. She has something else to ask, I assume.
Yeah, it's a question and a comment, to be honest.
Okay.
But with the licensing authority, we're not here to discuss the minutiae of detail of a police investigation. What's clear is that 2 people were very seriously injured and there's blood splatters around the place. What's clear is this was right by this premises, and I'm getting a bit irritated with hearing who said what, who watched CCTV, when 2 people have been so seriously injured. I think you should take it more seriously.
We are taking it seriously.
Thank
and
you.
It's not on the premises. That's what we're stating. And there's no evidence to show it's on the premises.
Okay, I think we'll leave it there. Delia, you want to come in?
Yeah, Chair, I think what Councillor Williams is trying to get across is that, we're here to discuss a license application. Yeah. And, the applicant needs to be coming across as though he understands what the licensing objectives are. He understands the responsibility that he's asking us to have faith in him to hold such a license. And, the matters that are coming forth at this moment are showing that, there is going to be a challenging situation for him. It's part of this is about having trust in, when licenses are being given out to individuals. We're needing to have a bit of trust in them that they are going to comply and they are going to follow the rules and they will, you know, abide by conditions and so forth. At this moment, what Mr. Gizon needs to do is to try and convince the committee that he is willing to do those things. He's willing to take those steps. He's willing to be a trustworthy person. But yeah,
Mr. Kazor hasn't spoken.
just making sure that he understands that that's really the messaging that he needs to be trying to get across to the committee.
And I'm
Because
sure
I don't think Mr. Holder that you're assisting him to get that message across right now.
Okay, so okay, we'll leave it at that. I think we'll move on to who is going to do the presentation for the applicant. You, Mr. Holder, or
Yes.
oh yeah. In that case, when you're ready, please.
Okay.
Councillor Williams, you got your hand up, and is it?
It's just a question, please. When do we discuss the London Fire Brigade report?
So, Chair, the London Fire Brigade. So the London Fire Brigade report was there for information following on. That was from the previous application. So Mr. Gizor should be able to, if you ask him the question, Chair, should be able to let you know what steps he has taken as a result of that.
Yeah.
And what measures he's been able to put in place.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
And that's fine. Mr. Holder, when you're ready.
Okay. In regards to what I'm going to present is the case here, then you have an opportunity to speak to Mr. Gazor, who hasn't spoken as yet. It's just that there's some contradictory information in regards to the police report, visit by licensed authority. There's a lot of confusion from previously from the first application to the second application. Now, since the second application was put in, all the issues that have arisen with the London Fire Brigade, there's been full risk assessment, all that's been satisfied. That's why the London Fire Brigade doesn't put representation. The representation regards to TENS and temporary events notice, there's been a number of temporary events notice that's been issued since the first application. There's never been no issues in regards to temporary events notice. And the temporary events notice on the 9th, since the 9th seems to be the highlight of it. There was no breach of the temporary events notice. The venue was actually closed. There's no crime scene and crime scene at the venue. And that is, venue was actually closed, the shutters were down. It was a celebration. The incident, there was a scuffle at the venue. All the perpetrators left the venue and went further up the road. Some 1 hour, an hour and a half later, incident happened further down the road. It didn't actually happen like outside 5 minutes later or 10 minutes. It happened an hour, hour and a half later. Further down when after the actual alleged assailants left the premises. The regards to people being arrested that was not connected to the premises, the police actually broke it into the premises. There was cleaning up the premises. They was ready to go home. There was no sales of alcohol outside licensing hours. So all the accusations of him being responsible, all these that were shown, and he's going to retrain and take further training. He's brought to a specialist training company. He has always been compliant with the police, CCTV. Everyone's welcome to visit. He's always, here's the CCTV camera, here's the incident, here's what actually happened. Everyone's been satisfied with the incident, the Met Police and everybody else. He's very satisfied with the venue. He even applied for more TENS, and TENS was granted after the incident. And I'm sure Mrs. Barrett will confirm that TENS were granted after the incident of the night. So to make out this incident so serious, he's put a full training pack in operation, licensed objective, full staff training. CCTV was already in the premises. He was preparing with hoping that he would get an alcohol license, so he was preparing to sell alcohol. There's never been no legal sales of alcohol. There was people drinking alcohol on a celebration, which was a celebration next door of over 200 people, and 9 guests came over to his premises, 9 of his friends and family, and they were having a drink, no sales of drink, and there was ceaseless smoking in the back. in the back area. That's 9 guests. When the police actually visited the premises, there was, I think, 8 to 10 guests that was in there. I believe it might have been 8, I'm not sure, so I'm not going to say a number. He's always listened to the authorities. His lessons have been learned. He's always been compliant. In regards to the PIN code, there's a reason why there's a PIN code on the premises, which is Joe's going to explain that when you ask him those questions. But he's quite aware of the licensing policy, and the reason he's aware of what's gone on throughout this process. I believe by him speaking to the licensing police, they have confidence in him. That's why they said we're happy to negotiate with him. It was just a matter of time to actually offer made to the licensing police in regards to certain conditions and certain times and timings. So that letter has been sent to the licensing officer, who hasn't responded, to reduce the hours to 1 o'clock on a Friday and Saturday, 12 o'clock on a Sunday to Thursday. There's also for on sales, obviously mandatory condition, any condition that the police deems necessary. He's happy and he agrees with the conditions that was put forward by having a license. He agrees with 90% with the sale of alcohol. He's even offered the sale of alcohol with food. No sales of alcohol 1 hour before match day starts and finish. He's offered to employ SAA security. He's a management policy which he's put in place for the premises and with a training policy. He also offered to make sure that the premises is a home team supporters only. No tables and chairs outside. No standing at the bar, no virtual standing. This is a match day, very important part of his business model. Having a premises license is a very important part of his business model. He's made sure and gone out of his way to be very compliant from the first issue. He's put licensing objectives, 4 licensing objectives, which is attached into his representation, into his pack. So he's done his lessons have been learned, and he's done everything to be as compliant as possible. But I believe that when you hear from the applicant and you like to ask him some questions, you'll see how compliant the applicant is. It's just in regards to the contradictions of the stories and what's actually happened here, because he does take this incident very, very seriously, and he wasn't aware of the incident. And any of his guests that's been arrested in the premises was not connected to the premises, to the incident, and they was released the following day.
Okay.
So if you'd like to ask Mr. Mazur any questions in regards to the incident on the night, he'd be able to explain everything.
Thank you. Before I open it up to questions, I will ask, because you kept referring to the applicant, does the applicant, would you like to speak, Miss, Bickerly, the name I can see on the screen, Mr. Gisso, would you like to say anything before we take questions?
Yes, yes, just about the locker and everything. I need to explain how I'm gonna do that things, and for everything for this incident, I need to explain it how it was happening, or how it's going for the future as well, and for everything. Can I explain it, or just?
It's important for you to tell us what you're going to put in place. So if anything similar happens again, the public, they're safe basically, and how you're going to react. We need to be assured that the part of the licensing policy around crime, you understand it basically. So it would be helpful if you can do that.
Okay. First, thank you for giving me this chance, and the second is for the locker thing. For the locker thing, I can take off the locker. I don't have any problem. But the reason why I'm doing the locker is, this area is all from the middle side. If you see on the map, from the middle side there is no ceiling from up. So because so many times people they try to come inside from the back side. That's why I locked it for the middle one, because nobody's not going inside. If when I closed it the night, I turn on it the locker and nobody's not inside from the back side. That's the reason I locked it. But if it is for safety reasons, because if I turn on the lock it, when I close it and when I leave these premises only, all the time on the daytime when I open my shop, it's on.
Because the kitchen is that we can access the kitchen only this way through the locky, so it's always open.
actually on.
And for the security reasons, we will be having.
Can you explain who you are and what is your role in the business?
Yeah, he's my husband. I work here.
Okay.
So the lockets for that reason, we put it there because it's open this way. There's no house like up, so we were doing it for security reasons. But we can remove it for the security reason. We will be having security staffs for events like the last one.
ከእንደገና ደግሞ ምንድነው እነዚህ ኦብጀክቲቮቹ እንደምናደርግ
Madam Chair, just for clarity in regards to the PIN code lock, when the premises is open and they're not using the middle section, if you look on page 21, the lounge area, that is locked, so there's no access to the public to that section, only staff only to go to the kitchen. On the way back, it doesn't allow the members of the public to go into that area. That is just only when the whole premise is open. I'm more than happy when the premise is open or to use a different PIN code system or a different lock system. But it was there for the safety of avoiding the public when just the front section is open, when it's just the cafe section. Make sure that area is safe and there's no members of the public going in that area, staff only. Obviously, when it's open for larger functions, the full area will be open. If this panel is willing to put a condition that the PIN code is guaranteed to be stayed open or a different lock system put in for the satisfaction of licensing, he'd be more than happy to do that and be compliant with it. In regards to crime and disorder, there's already a CCTV system on the premises. There's already signage on the premises stating, please leave quiet, please respect the neighbours. There's already, he's happy to liaise on local police and crime watch and join the local Haringey Council pub watch, for want of a better word. He regularly reviews crime and safety and updating his policy with staff saying that's booked in every month with staff. Obviously, there's been a pandemic now, everything's open back up. He's already booked in regular staff training to make sure there's confidence in there. He has a zero drug policy on the premises, and there's zero tolerance for bullying, antisocial, threatening behaviour on his premises. He's a well-respected member of his community. He will make sure that all the staff is trained. He will make sure that when he does temporary events, no security, there's SIA security. On the actual event of the 9th, it was actually, there wasn't that many customers there. Most of them he knows in the community, and he's well known. He's put in all the policies and procedures to make sure the satisfaction of it. He's been very compliant with the police. And I keep hearing there's a crime scene. There wasn't no crime on his premises. The crime happened way down the street. He wasn't aware of the crime of the serious incident of stabbing on his premises. It was not there. He was not aware he was actually closed on that date, on that time when the crime actually happened. It's only when the police arrived that he was aware of what actually happened. Two guests that was there that was waiting for a lift home got scared by the police and ran into the kitchen. As you've been aware, there's no back access out of the kitchen. So they just moved away from the police. They was arrested and de-arrested the following day. There was no charges. They're not connected to the crime. There's no issue there in regards to crime and disorder. There's never been any crime and disorder with the nucleus 10 temporary offence notice that's had on the premises. If you'd like to continue, Mr. Shaw, in regards to your representation, I just wanted to get those points across in regards to crime and disorder.
Okay. Have you finished? Yes. You want to come in, Mr. Gilson? You indicated with your hand.
I'm just clarify for from Metropolitan Police, Justina. She's came and visit to me about the incident, and as we discussed for her, just she explained to me what's happening, and what she written for the information is from police, what she get information. So but in some way she understand, and she explained to me everything, how some message is a little bit rush, but she explained me about the incident, and I'm just explained her everything, and she's seen every place if until in the backside, and she have seen the book for incident books. I have just she little bit understand me what when she's coming everything seen it, and the general objectives before this incident as well. I did already, because prevention of crime and disorder is like you can put CCTV cameras, everything. So before that, I have on the 25th and 26th December 2021 on the 10th, I did until 4 o'clock. But I always I want it's not more than 30 people my capacity with the staff as well. So I always I always do the job is closed. It's not open all the time until 4 o'clock or something like that. So it's for just for only like 30 people, all staffs and members. So before 25th and 26th and New Year Eve, I had a 10, and I did until 4 o'clock. There is nothing happening. This incident happening is it's not in the premises. I didn't say just it's not, it's police investigation, but what I know is from the police, I'm just give them CCTV from the Mr. Kahan, it's the officer. Even I have contacted him so many times, and he told me just everything I give him. Anytime if he need anything, he's called me and he asked me something. So I'm cooperative with the police. For crime disorder, I already know for general objectives, and for public safety, I did for people who have inside in the premises. I left them just that people until they go. Then these people I will release it. I don't know what's happening outside. When after police coming, they explained us what is happening outside. That's the reason people who have inside, when police coming, they run away, two peoples, but police, they suspect them. So that's the reason the police, everything they understand, and they got CCTV everywhere. So that's why the police officer told me, just we are in the investigation. So due to my tense, I did more than what I can did for these things. And for the prevention of public nuisance is I put the sticker signs for in my wall. For example, just for when they leave out the premises, they have signs quietly and to go to without more sound. And I have challenged 25 stickers. Every stickers who have related with alcohol and prevention of the nuisance and protection of children and harm as well. I have so many stickers on my walls to give them the people notice or to see what's going on inside. And for the planning permission from the council, I spoke the planning permission and I have got email from them what's the status of these retail premises. It's they already confirmed me by email. It's E class and EB2. The class I have contacted with planning permission, so I can sell like as a restaurant, food and drinks. Then for the match day conditions, the licensing team they give me some notice, and it says before 4 hours from the match, you can sell alcohol from 4 hours before the match. So I give them my offer, what I'm thinking, because even before 4 hours, it's little people is coming like on the road when we see. So because the road as well closed is 1 hour left or something like that, the road will be closed from the main road. So at least it's considering for that, for to sell drinks and foods inside. It's not only to sell alcohol, drinks or alcohol, to sell just with food. I'm give them my I give them just a little explanation, and if Bobby as well, they can explain to you about the conditions. So sorry for my English, I have a little bit problem with speaking English. So if you understand me, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I will take questions. Can I ask first, if I may, using my position to go first. We talked about training the staff and everything, but nevertheless, no one from your staff rang the police when the incident took place. Again, I couldn't find on the independent fire report. I couldn't see anything on the papers I have in front of me. That's the second issue. And the third issue is about this lounge with the door locked. And as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, there are tables in the lounge, and members of the public go and use the lounge. But there is a restriction because the door is closed. And that was because I have concerns about the fire, concerns over the door being shut. And so I'd like to hear about these three issues, really, about the lounge, about the door being locked, about the independent fire report, which doesn't seem to exist, and why, with all these stickers you have around and the training you refer to, no one pick up the phone to ring 999, basically. If you can answer those questions for me, and then I will ask my colleagues if they have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. First, we didn't know anything happening outside. We didn't see it. If we see anything, we call for the police, and we can cooperate, and we just when we start arguing people, so we take them out, and some people is left inside. The people who is inside and outside is from outside people, they are friends, so we separate them and we take them inside. We take them inside to little bit while, and after that people going. We don't know what's going outside happening. We didn't know until police coming. We didn't know anything. What's going outside happened. We didn't know. That's the reason we kept these people until that people left. That's why, because the incident is happening like 2 stops from our premises. From 2 stops from our premises, the incident is happened. So that people they already gone from my premises. And this is, it show us for the police, and the one, he's the investigating police, his name is Khan, he already understand it, but he won't know nobody is not injured from this house. So I give them 5 CCTVs, everything, who is showing us clearly people just they left from the premises. And the second one from the locker room, as I explained it to you earlier, we are trying to, for example, anytime on the daytime, the locker is not locked, because it's a door. Just the locker is like, it's like normal locker, it's keypad, but it's all the time on the daytime is open. But when I closed it on the nighttime, when I leave it the premises, in the back side, anybody's coming is not going by front side. That's why I'm doing that locker. If anything up, because even I apply for councils, someone is trying to come in from inside, I called the police. Even I have the references from the council, they come visit me. They from the main road, some people they trying to get inside, but they didn't. But people are there trying to get inside. So the robberies. So this is the reason why I put the locker. But due to safety reasons or any reasons, if you are allow me this license, I can't remove it, because this is helping me, so I can't remove it. And sorry, for the third one, you said what?
It's independent fire report.
Depend.
The independent, we wanted I think it was referred to somewhere in the papers about not having an independent fire report, an assessment about the premises. And
okay, fire risk assessment.
Yeah.
Okay, the fire risk assessment I did for the fire risk assessment. His name is Simon from Leonard Brigade. He's coming and he's visiting to me on the last application, and he told me for the third party assessors from who's recommending. So I already hired for fire safety assessors from even he's one of the London Fire Brigade. He's the third party assessor. So he's came and he visit our property, and he gave me some ideas to how I gonna do what I gonna do. Then he written it on his 50. He's doing for 52 pages or something like that. So I did what he told me, everything. For example, like you need to have a book every week. What you have to then check up the fire extinguishers every day. You can check, and on your book statement, and you can do. And from the back side, from the backside, and you can live, and you can put the numbers from the signs for anything happens in the premises.
Sorry to interrupt you. Is there a written report?
Yeah.
Where? Because we haven't got it.
A written report means just
A
when
written report from the company who came to assess the fire risks. Is there a written report?
Yes, before I think for Miss Barrett, I sent for the risk assessors, what he sent me to every details for 52 page, something like that. I sent her from fire risk assessor. I already sent her on the last application of the premises license. I sent her. Then after that, he didn't visit me, but he told me anytime he can come, and he will assess what you done from from the comments, what he's saying. He can come and he can check the book, everything what he said. I already waiting. So if anyone from fire risk assessment coming, I have to show them.
Can I clarify, Delia, with you? Is about this report.
Right, Chair. So obviously, Mr. Gasol was visited by the London Fire and Civil Defence Authority. They issued a notice advising him that he needed to get his fire safety matters in order on the premises. And one of the things that they suggested to him was make sure he got an independent third assessor to come in and do that. I understand he's done that, but in terms of what this panel here is able to consider, as you know, fire safety matters are covered under the fire reform regulations order. However, the issue around public safety. So I suppose what you're needing to get from Mr. Kazor is that he's actually carried out the matters that have been raised in that fire assessor's report. So the basic thing he needs to have in place, just like any other business in the UK, is that he should have his written fire risk assessment that he has for himself as the operator operating this particular premises, and that he's trained his staff to know what the do's and don'ts are as a result of that fire safety risk assessment that he's undertaken. And I think it's for him to speak to that and to say if he's carried that out, and you know what he's put in place, really.
Thank you. I'll come to you, Councillor Williams. Mr. Walter, I don't know if you want to say, I'll come back to you in a minute. Councillor Williams.
So my question, I know this is getting a bit which part of the meeting is it who we're questioning, is when we issue a temporary events notice, would we do that without seeing fire safety, without knowing whether a venue was safe? Right.
So yes, and so the temporary event notice is really a notification from somebody that they want to offer licensed activities at a given place and time, and it's for the police and the noise officers to consider that, and within 3 days come back with a response. It does not negate the issuer, the requester, from ensuring that they have done their health and safety requirements and their fire safety requirements. Those are law, those are covered under separate legislation, and they are things that they need to abide by in law regardless. Yeah. And just to clarify, Mr. Holder said further tents had been applied for. No, that's not the case. Mr. Gazor put in temporary event notices in one go for the 8th and the 9th and the 15th and the 16th, and that's what he has used so far. Okay, nothing further. But yeah, let's go back to councillors. It doesn't negate the notice giver from making sure that they have done their checks in terms of the law.
Okay, Councillor Williams.
With permission, if I could just come back. So the question is that at this committee, at this hearing today, so far doesn't have any evidence that the fire,
That's right.
The FRA has been carried out satisfactorily. There's nothing in our bundle which suggests that, is there?
There is nothing in the bundle at this moment in time, but obviously Mr. Gazor is able to speak to, you know, if he's carried out his risk assessment, which he's required to do by law anyway.
Thank you. Mr. Holder, you want to come in? We can't hear you.
On the first application, there was representation by the fire authorities. No, there wasn't. That's why the fire authorities came and made recommendations in regards to the fire safety and the rest of it. On this application, the fire authorities visited the premises. They were satisfied that that everything is compliant in regards to fire safety. That's why they haven't made any representation to this committee, because if there was, believe you me, the responsible authority would have made representation at this hearing. I believe the correct authority is satisfied that everything's compliant. In regards to temporary events notice, when they are applied for, because they're pretty late time, he puts all these 4 licensing objectives attached to them to make sure that the police is satisfied and the licensing is satisfied. There's never been no issues with the tents apart from this one-off incident that actually happened at his venue. And all the tents that have been issued, there's never been no problem and no issues in regards to that.
Okay, Delia.
Clarity in that.
Can I just correct that, please? So, as the panel knows, the fire authority will only take these application forms on papers. So a lot of the times we get back through a negative response from the fire authority that just says, we've seen the documentation, we're fine with it, that's fine. And in fact, on the first application, since Mr. Holder has now raised it again now, on the first application, it was following the visit that was made to the premises and the concerns raised from that visit on the 25th, and the pictures taken that were then submitted to the other authorities, while the fire authority then did, in fact, send out an inspector. This was after they had responded back on that first application to say that they had no concerns and weren't raising representation. But once they received the photographs and so forth following the visit on the 25th, they then did send out one of their inspectors who then did submit a letter to Mr. Gazor of their concerns. And so Mr. Gazor then had to take steps as advised by the fire authority. So I think you cannot, I suppose what I'm saying is, Mr. Holder, you cannot take the fact that the fire authority have given one of their standards, we've received and acknowledge your application documents, as read that everything is all right. And what the members are asking Mr. Gazor is, has he carried out his fire safety risk assessment, and has he had the training and trained staff to know what to do and what's expected?
You have a copy of that report, Mrs. Barrett. Do you have a copy of that report, and you're quite satisfied that every step is being taken?
I'm sorry, you've misunderstood. It's not for me to say that. What I'm saying is, Mr. Gazor, Mr. Gazor has a duty under the law to ensure that he's carried out his fire safety risk assessment for his business. It's not something that I can do for him, I'm afraid.
No, he has done that and sent you. I've asked the question. You've received a copy of this fire risk assessment. He's had a professional company come in and do a full report and full fire risk assessment. He sent you an email in regards to that.
Mr. Holder, I think you are confusing Mr. Gazor even more now. So he's had an assessor in who has highlighted things that need to be taken into consideration when Mr. Gazor does his own fire safety risk assessment on site. Yeah.
Which this is what we want to see as members, basically, and we haven't got it. Just to clarify, that's why I asked the questions. The question I did. Okay, and then I will ask if there are any more questions from our councillor. So, Councillor Hare.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think we've understood. That was one of my questions. Just to clarify, is to Mr. Gazor, are you the owner of the premises or the employee? Because it seems to me that responsibilities must go further, that if you're the employee rather than the owner himself or herself surely has a role in this. Perhaps it's a question for Dahlia on legal responsibilities.
Okay.
Yes, I'm the owner.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Can I ask about staff training, Mr. Gizor? I mean, what staff training has been done on what topics and who has delivered it? Has it been delivered by an experienced or expert person, for example?
Yes. For example, I did first aid training and health and safety. I have certificate as well.
So you did the training yourself?
And stuff.
No,
He's
I'm
talking
doing
about
from the
Wimbledon
company.
training services. He's talking about Wimbledon training services and the work that you've done with them.
Yes, I'm doing for, I go to the name is Speedy Courses, and I go to there and I take 1 week, 2 weeks courses, and for first aid is 1 day course I did, and I have certificate as well. And for my staff as well, I give them some advice and training from what I have information from the courses, and one of staff is they have health and safety awarded too. They have, so this is how I can work.
Okay. Chair, may I ask a third question?
Yes,
Have you
yes.
finished? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
You've
just
finished,
wanted
Mr. Gizor.
sure to mention the training company that actually provides the training for you, the Wimbledon training services.
Yes, the training services for the for the future, when I get this license, I have another extra courses. I attached for licensing team for Miss Parent for Wimbledon training. They give me some trainings, like I already have got the appointment to do on they, or I have got confirmation. So for example, level 2 award in conflict management. I already have a booking from the Wimbledon course center, and the Wimbledon is for the future. I don't have conflict management qualification at the moment, but after this hearing, I will do more to go to further to do for the more qualification to get and to learn more about for the licensing. This is what I thank you very much.
Thank you. And I've got one further question, Chair.
Yes.
The report includes a previous problem with the licensing for alcohol, for example, where you sold it without a license, but knowing that you needed a license, and officers visited and asked you to remove it. But later in the day, you were continuing to sell it. I mean, really, for members of this panel, I wonder what this shows. What do you think this shows, and why did you continue to sell it?
He's talking the incident on the 25th of September.
Yeah, you're talking about the first obligation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You explained
the maybe it's misunderstanding, but I did sell for on the 25th, Miss Parent and her colleagues, they coming, and she already have know the I'm applying license, so she told me to remove it from the balcony, the alcohols, and she's gone. Then after that, she's coming back. Then the people who I give them the drink, they already has inside. Then I already take off the alcohols when she's come back again on the second time. She can tell as well for me, Miss Parent. I already take off the alcohol from the balcony, but that's the reason the first time.
Let's make it clear. This application, we look at it fresh. We are not connecting it with the first application. I wanted to put that on record.
Yeah.
We are all experienced councillors, and
Okay.
when it comes to the deliberations, we be dealing with today. This application.
Yes, I understand.
Can I ask? Delia, do you want to come in? You got your hand up.
I was just going to give some clarity. Mr. Gazor was explaining to you earlier regarding the planning situation. So yes, the premises is fine to be operated as a cafe. The issue that was being raised, and again, Chair, I feel silly saying this now that you've just said what you've said, but the issue that was being raised was that Mr. Gazor was using that locked middle area as a shisha lounge.
Yeah.
That doesn't have planning permission, and Mr. Gazor has been told that if he'd wanted to operate in that way, he would therefore need planning permission specifically to be able to operate, offering shisha. So he's given assurances, but this was all after the last hearing, of course, that he was not going to be pursuing that, wasn't going to be looking to operate a shisha area there. But this, again, like he was just explaining about the visit on the 25th and so forth, the problem we have is when the initial visit was made, we could only see that front area because the door was locked. Yeah, the middle area was locked away. Nobody could see what was going on there. So alcohol was asked to be taken away from display and not sold to the customers, and should not be sold regardless because there was no license in place. And it was only, an hour and a bit later when going back, because we were there for another substantive matter on that night, we noticed the blue light that was, as the door opened in the middle through the premises, we noticed that blue light, and that's what led me to go into the premises again. And Mr. Gazor did not want to open the door initially, and it was after the insistence and basically threatening that middle door was then released, and we then found more people on the inside consuming alcohol and smoking shisha. Okay, just to give clarity to what happened that evening.
Okay. I think, yeah, Mr. Volta.
Yeah, Mr. Kazur is going to explain that full incident. I'd like to add, can you just state the number of people? There's never been any further incidents since that incident at the premises in regards to shisha, illegal alcohol sales. Just want to state that and clarify that. There was a huge party next door, which Mr. Kazur is going to explain, which over 100 people. And he will explain to you the number of people that was actually in his premises, and he wasn't actually selling alcohol. There's no evidence to state that he was selling alcohol. And he put his hand up in regards to that incident. He's learnt lessons from that. And I understand what you said, Madam Chair, so I don't want to go back to that date. But
No.
I just want to make sure there's clarity in regards to what actually happened in that incident. And there have not been no further incidents.
We are not having that discussion about the previous application, but
Yeah.
I'd like to concentrate on this one.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, on this one, they were found open well after the hours. The temporary license was until 4 a.m. and I think it was open 10 to 5, if I remember correct, from what I read.
No,
the papers. So you still broke your license, temporary license then, because you were open until, if I remember correct from what I read, 4:50, I think it was. And so if you, I don't know if you want to respond to that, Mr. Gilzer, or not, but
explain the incident on the 9th in regards to the opening time, what time you sold alcohol till, and
Well,
If you explain it, Mr. Kazur, to the committee, what time you stopped selling alcohol and what actually happened in regards to the door was closed, no sales with alcohol. If you explained that incident on the 9th to the committee, please.
Okay, music and selling drinks were stopped at 4, but because of the situation, the argument, everyone was not out. The other group were staying here, but because we have already stopped the music and drinking alcohol, we are cleaning the premises just to leave. But the selling alcohol and music was stopped at 4.
And Elsa, can you say the number of people who's actually in the premises after 4 o'clock?
There might be 8.
Thank you.
I don't know.
Yeah.
okay. Can I ask whether there are any more questions from councillors?
No.
Can I ask the police officer if she's still with us, whatever you have any questions?
No questions from me.
No questions. Okay. If there are no more questions, I will ask you all to sum up. If you think is something that you need to add that we haven't heard before, can I come to you, to the licensing officer first?
Sorry, Chair. No, I don't think I have anything further to add at this point.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask the police officer, do you have anything else you'd like to add or sum up? Or
No, not really. Thank you very much, ma'am.
no, okay. And then I will ask the applicant, would you like to sum up, please? Mr. Holder or Mr. Who wants to sum up?
Yeah, I'd like to sum up in regards to the committee understands that Mr. Kazur is happy to reduce the licensing time on a Sunday to Thursday to midnight, on a Friday and Saturday to 1 o'clock, with the supply of alcohol, late night refreshment, and regulated entertainment. He's also happy to have the mandatory condition, any additional conditions that this committee feels is needed in this case, i.e. the PIN code and the rest of it. He's also offered conditions for match day because this is his business model. And because of COVID-19, he agrees with most of the conditions, but he's happy to sell alcohol only with food on match day. The licensing authority is saying close 4 hours before. There's other premises around there that has the opportunity to sell alcohol. He's offering alcohol with food because food is an important part of his business model. He will employ SIA security. He's put a management policy in. If you see when you speak to Mr. Kazur, he has a good understanding of the 4 licensing objectives. His lessons has been learned. He's gone over and beyond everything that's said to him. In regards to the tables and chairs outside, he's done his research, no tables and chairs outside. He's gone a bit further, no standing at the bar, seating only, especially on match day. In regards to that, he's gone over and beyond with all the signage. CCTV was already, which he did. He didn't have a premises license, but he knew he was doing 10, so he made sure that he has satisfactory CCTV on the premises. He's put signage up, Challenge 25. He's employed a reputable training company to train himself and also to train his staff and any new staff that he will employ. If he doesn't get this license, this business model of the license, his business is literally dead. And he needs to survive to feed his family. He's put every single effort. He's worked very hard. He's a true, what we call a Londoner. London's very multicultural. And he's coming to this community. He's respecting his community. And he's open to every community. He's opposite Tottenham Hotspur's football ground. He would like to benefit from being there. He's done everything compliant. He's been very compliant with the police. To the fact that if he wasn't in regards to the incident, the Metropolitan Police would have been dissatisfied with him. They're very happy with him. In regards to the incident, they're not making no serious representations apart from what was passed on to them initially in investigation. Now you've seen this investigation is not actually true in regards to him not being compliant. is a member of the public for him selling alcohol after that time. He has CCTV. It's been available to everybody to prove him wrong. He's made a statement that he hasn't sold alcohol out of hours, especially on his temporary events notice. And he's had a number of 10s. And he said temporary events notice granted for after the event of the 9th.
Oh,
Right. Okay.
Would you like to add anything else, Mr. Kishore, in regards to it? And he does have full fire risk assessment. He's complied with everything asked of him.
Okay. Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone who attend this meeting, and I will ask you to leave us. And
Thank you very much.
sorry. Oh, and we're going to have a discussion. And our decision is you're gonna have within 5 working days. You're gonna have a written response of information about our decision. Thank you again very much, and we appreciate you coming. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Bye.